Still have,
Partied. Did you
yeah.
party without me again? The nerve.
We do that.
Can you imagine? What are Alice and Leonard doing? No, they're partying. They're out partying. You did go out last night.
Yes, we
You,
did.
you did actually go party last night.
We did, and we had a
As
very
I
good
joke,
time.
you went and partied. Hi, everybody.
Hello, happy
Hi, everyone,
Sunday.
as you come together with us. Hi, hi.
Happy
Hi, Ken.
Sunday.
Hello, 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 friends. Just making sure
Last
that we're
night,
working everywhere.
my wife and
Not
I,
yet, not yet. Let them come in and say hello. You have fun news to share. Let them come in and say hello.
Okay.
Just want to make sure everybody's working. Hi, hi, everyone. Da-da-da-da-da-da. We have been away for a bit, and we've missed you. It was Comic-Con and Silent Film Festival, and then you guys had that event at that guy's house, the
Yes.
Home Street. Yeah, muchly going on, but we've missed being with you, and it's so nice to be with you again today. Very happy to be able to do that. Grateful that my husband is home and he can watch Daisy, so that at least in theory she can't interrupt us. In theory, but not necessarily. I was just talking to my mother-in-law who's taken up salsa dancing.
No kidding.
Sharon has taken up salsa dancing. She's loving it. Lucky woman. I love that. She said, my father-in-law has refused to go with her for years. And finally, she just went by herself. I said, good job, Sharon. You get out there.
Good choice.
You go work it, Sharon.
Good choice.
I
remember the first time I couldn't get a friend to go to the movies with me.
Yeah.
And I had to make, I was 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I had to make what turned out to be a life-changing decision. Should I and can I go to the movies by myself?
Yes.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I could and I did.
To yourself.
I could and
I
I
said,
did.
yes, I can. And from that moment, it was this. My husband. I don't know how you guys are with this. My husband likes taking himself out. He likes going to see a movie. He likes going to a restaurant and having dinner. When he toured, because my husband, if you don't know, my husband does lighting, and for a long time he toured with shows. So on his day off, he would take himself to a steakhouse or something, and then he would go and watch a movie, and he loved doing that. And to me, I was like, I can't imagine sitting, some people are different. I can't imagine sitting in a restaurant by myself. Obviously, when I'm traveling, I do it if I have to, but in general, to me, that's just not as enjoyable. But some people can, and they do. What's it for you? Can you do that? And do you like seeing movies by yourself? I don't mind seeing movies by myself as long as everybody I know has seen them so I can discuss them. That's the only negative to watching something if you're not with other people, is the fun part is talking about it. After the fact. Charlie just texted me because she and Lee went and saw Barbie today.
Uh-huh.
And she said it was so good. They are the kind of movies I love, which is great. Wonderful. A lot of people have seen Barbie. I have not. Again, because of Daisy, I don't really get to see new movies. You and Mommy did.
Yes, we did. And we saw it with a after opening weekend, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday after its Friday weekend opening. And we were at the Lemley's NoHo, and in a modest-sized auditorium that was full.
Yeah.
Full and enthusiastic.
And you're saying my mom was concerned at first because the audience was a bit rowdy, and she was worried that they might remain that way through the film. But once it got started,
they were into the movie.
They were into it. So
a little more than I was.
Well, but in general, liked Barbie.
In general, I liked Barbie.
You did not feel it was the second coming.
No.
But you liked it.
Yes.
And there you go.
There it is. If you're going to make a movie about a doll, a plastic doll that has had lasting appeal to little girls.
Yep.
For how many years? Over half a century, I guess. Then this is as good a movie as you're going to get.
It's a fun roundabout of a conversation. Yeah. It is funny, of course, when something gets the kind of, we spoke a little bit last time we were all together about, I can't get over how much money they've spent advertising this film. And I cannot get over the number. I swear this must hit some kind of record for brand deals. It really must.
Oh, well.
It must hit some kind of record.
It's right up there.
Now, I know that obviously part of that is Warner Brothers doing it, but part of that is Mattel. doing it.
Yes, Mattel
So,
actively produced
you know,
this film,
to
co-produced
to
this film.
have both Warner Brothers and Mattel behind you is pretty wild. I like that. Russell says, I like being with someone else at the movies as long as I can sit away from strangers. I
Yeah,
get that.
I would go with that.
Yeah.
And the truth is, since I met your mother,
Yeah.
we like holding hands at the movies.
Yeah. Yuck.
We like we like being together
Yeah.
at the movies.
As I say, it's somebody else said they don't like, they like going to movies by themselves because then they don't have to argue about what they're going to see. I would say there too, it sort of varies. We generally want to see the same things.
Yeah.
The only time that happens is if there's something I just don't want to see, and I say to my husband, "Why don't you go? I'm good. Why don't you go see that movie?" Yeah, we still, he really wants to catch up with John Wick 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I said we can watch that at some point. I don't really care, but it will make him happy. And that is always valuable. It's always valuable if you can make your spouse happy, especially with something as simple as watching a movie you don't care about. Are you excited about Jim Capobianco's new animated feature, The Inventor, biography about Leonardo da Vinci?
I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry, very good voice cast.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure.
Yeah, that looks
bring
like
it on.
That looks like a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer seeing films with others. I haven't seen films by myself like Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning 1. Dead Reckoning Part 1. I saw an IMAX with only 5 people in the theater. That's got to be kind of wild. Yeah, but I told you, all of a sudden, Scott is a connoisseur. My husband said the only way we're going to see Oppenheimer is we have to go. So one of the only places showing it in true IMAX and 70 millimeter is Universal Studios. Universal City Walk up there. I'm pointing as if you know it's over that way. That's where they're doing that here, and it is sold out. They've added screenings at like 6 a.m. Have you seen this?
No.
They've added screenings at 6 a.m. Some of them are at 2 a.m. Let me see if I can. I took screenshots the other day because I couldn't believe it. But I guess people are going to do it.
Well, if you're going to see it in IMAX, see it in real IMAX, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is that they have
when
a real
IMAX came along, you remember the first IMAX films? They were usually associated with museums or places of special interest.
Yeah.
And we saw one outside the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And it was flying into the Grand Canyon. That's what the gist of the film was. But the whole idea of IMAX was that it was the size of
it's meant to be larger than life.
Size of a building.
That's its purpose, is for it to be larger than life.
And then the people who run the company, I think probably to their shareholders' delight, decided that IMAX really stands for quality.
Yeah.
And it does. And they started licensing or opening theaters
they must have gotten rid
that
of those.
Weren't the size of a building.
Yeah.
And they call it IMAX.
Yeah. Yeah. Grandma's Chinese has built a 70 millimeter projector just for the film as well. I know it's our friends who are building the projectors. My friend Chaz, who has been doing this for a long time, though he's not that, I think we're about the same age. I'm 37. He's about that. One of the jobs that he has, and thanks to Christopher Nolan, every few years he gets to do it again, is he travels around the country installing projectors and checking them and making sure that everything's going to be fine. And his wife does the same thing. And so it's always really funny, as I say, especially when Christopher Nolan comes out with something, because I know the two of them are going to be traveling. And, you're texting with them in God knows what state as they figure out how to make the 70 millimeter work. And it's absolutely wild. I was hoping the Star Trek and I Love Lucy Barbies would have showed up in the film. People are selling those again. People have brought them back because anything Barbie right now is a big deal, obviously. So it's wild. Leonard, did you ever have the chance to meet the late, great Carl Davis? His Hollywood series score was a triumph.
I agree with that assessment. And yes, I did. My wife and I got to have lunch with him one day. When was that? It was in San Francisco. We went up to Oakland for the last screening or the most recent screening of Abel Gance's Napoleon, the 3-hour, 4-hour epic with the 3-screen finale, the triptych finale, and Carl was conducting his own score. He was a terrific person. He really was. We also he conducted for Sue Lloyd one year at the TCM Classic Film Festival, about which more later. Having just completed a performance of a Harold Lloyd, which for him must be a walk in the park
compared to the 3 hours or Napoleon. 4 hours. Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. He was a very engaging guy.
Yes.
And a very talented man. And when Mike Lee, the great Mike Lee, decided he wanted to do a film about Gilbert and Sullivan, the first hire he made was Carl Davis.
Smart man.
And Topsy Turvy being the result. And a wonderful film, really. And a great introduction to Gilbert and Sullivan if you're unfamiliar with their work.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Carl Davis, high on my list of people I admire.
I just realized you brought the challah over here.
I did.
Just in case you got hungry?
Yeah, you never know.
Just a snack in case you were hungry.
I am in perpetual search of the perfect challah.
No, see, here's the thing. We know where the perfect challah is. We have it, but it's hard to get.
Yes.
That's what it is. You're trying to find a secondary challah.
That's right.
This is what we'll call Jew problems. You're trying to find a secondary challah that has a longer shelf life. Again, Jew problems. Now I was going to explain why it's challah. Don't worry about it. Yes, a few people are asking about Pee-wee Herman, Paul Rubens. He was such a nice man. And beyond that, he was actually very old-fashioned in how he conducted himself with friends. With golden raisins. Ken's asking with or without golden raisins. With golden raisins. I only got to meet him a couple of times. You spent more time with him than I did.
Which wasn't much.
But you guys had a lovely correspondence.
Yes, we did.
And my friends who knew him well said he kept a Rolodex with notes about his friends, what they like, what they didn't like, where they met, which is very old fashioned.
Yeah.
And he always sent you birthday cards.
Yes.
And Christmas cards. And he was just a very kind, as a kind person. And it's really sad.
That idealistic children's show host character that he created was in part an extension of him.
Yeah. And, wacky in a way that I think is, for a lot of people, was sort of the first time they felt like they could be weird, if that makes sense. That is, to me, a big deal. The first time you see someone where you go, oh, I can come up with something crazy. I can express myself in this way. It's very exciting, I think. And for a lot of people, that's how they felt, as he inspired them in a very significant way. Hello to all my dear friends from the Las Vegas Desert Valley, and happy Sunday, dear Maltons, and a very, very happy hope you're not melting Sunday to you. It has been so hot outside here in Los Angeles. It's so hot. Friggin' hot.
It's so hot. It's a disincentive to do anything.
Yeah.
It's very hard to,
I put a swing indoors, guys. That's where I went with this. Daisy loves to swing, deeply loves to swing. And it is too damn hot to go outside and push her on the swing. So I put I had someone help me screw something into our ceiling in our room downstairs. And I attached a swing so I can swing her indoors. And you know what? Great decision on my part, because it means I don't have to go outside. Being a music nut, I always wanted to meet John Williams. He's a genius. He is a genius. Again, you've gotten to meet him. I've met him twice. You've gotten to spend more time with him.
I was I was backstage with him at an awards show in a dressing room, and trying to make small talk. And so I said to him, I remember the name of one of the two albums we made with Frankie Lane of Western songs. And the name I remembered was, now I'm going to forget it, right? Deuces Wild. Deuces Wild. But I can't remember the other one. And he's kind of nodded. He said, Hell Bent for Leather. I said, thank you very much.
That's so funny.
And then that caused him to talk a little bit about what a sweet guy Frankie Lane was, and how much he enjoyed working with him.
What a voice.
Way back.
What a voice.
When.
Yeah. Jonathan, you asked me about a vinyl figure behind me. I don't. Oh. I didn't even know that shouldn't be there. I have the collection of Schitt's Creek Funko Pops, and I have no idea why it ended up over there, but this is the Alexis one.
There was room for it there,
honestly.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be there.
No.
It just is. And I have the others, trying to keep them away from my child because she tries to open everything. She has not yet learned the rule.
You still haven't found little Lulu.
I know. Where could she be?
I don't know.
She stole little Lulu. Well, one of your little Lulus out of my dad's office.
A bisque little Lulu about so high.
We don't know where it is. It can't have gone that far.
Nope.
In theory. And yet, we cannot find her. Do you have many Funko Pops?
No.
I don't really like most of them. I don't love what they do. I don't love the way they the way they make characters look. But every now and then, there's one that's fun, and so you get it. Do you guys collect? I know some people are diehard. I'm staring at the Good Humor truck. Yes, I love this. Something else my child has been trying to steal. She's a thief.
The first sign of spring in Teaneck, New Jersey, where I grew up, was not the beginning of Major League Baseball. It was not the first robin chirping in a nest. It wasn't the crocuses coming up from the ground. It was the arrival of the Good Humor Man. And he would come on Prince Street, which is we were near the corner on Grayson Place. And so we could hear the bells.
That's so funny.
The bells sounding. And it was 15 cents for a Good Humor bar, but 20 cents if you wanted the chocolate eclair Good Humor bar.
And what did Aaron Maltin say to such things?
I often got the 20-cent bar.
Well done, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Well done, Grandpa. Yeah. Hi, Jill. Jill Higgins. Hi, Jill Higgins.
Hi, Jill.
Say hi, Jill Higgins.
Hi, Jill.
It was so nice to see you the other day. I bumped into a friend the other day at our Elements Pharmacy. And the nice woman behind the counter says, how do you know each other? And I said, just my whole life. I grew up with all of her kids. And it is funny when you see people and you realize you've known them 30 or more years. Absolutely insane. Do you think there's going to be a Barbie sequel? I don't know.
I doubt that Greta Gerwig.
Yeah, it's not really her style.
Would do that.
Yeah.
But of course, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they may push.
Has something to say about that.
We'll see.
And Mattel certainly.
Yeah.
We're going to see more Mattel movies. That is a certainty.
They're doing a Polly Pocket. Now, I love Polly Pocket. I grew up with Polly Pocket. Do you know what I don't need? A Polly Pocket movie. Nobody in the world said, you know what would make a really great movie? Polly Pocket. Nobody has ever said that. Victoria says if they made Funkos of Clark Gable and Bogart, etc., I might reconsider them.
Us too.
I just don't know what they do. Like, I don't know if they would look good or not. That's my problem.
Yeah, I don't see how they could morph. You know,
Clark Gable might. He is a somewhat cartoonish.
He is caricaturable.
Yeah, caricaturable. That I don't know if that's a real word, but I like it.
Yeah,
he is very caricaturable. They're doing an Uno movie. Why? Is there really, like, are there really not other ideas? Really? Surely there must be something that's not just like you're sitting in your house. It feels like sometimes they sit in their houses and they go, what's that over there? Oh, those are the bags I used to pick up my dog's poop. Let's make a movie about it.
All right.
Last night,
my wife and I went to the Aero Theater
in beautiful Santa Monica, California.
Santa Monica, California, for the second night of this year's Noir City Festival. Presided over by the Czar of Noir, Eddie Muller.
Yep.
Who many of you may know now as the host of Noir Alley on TCM. And Eddie's a great guy, and he really knows his stuff, and
loves it.
Yeah,
deeply.
And his right hand man, Alan Rody, same. They're really good people.
Yeah.
As well as spectacularly well informed and articulate film buffs. And Eddie programmed a double feature last night of A Double Life with my wife's favorite actor, Ronald Colman, the film that won him his Academy Award, and a film I'd never seen called The Velvet Touch with Rosalind Russell and Sidney Greenstreet, among others. And he says he has no evidence of this being the case, but he swears that when A Double Life came out, it's about an actor who has been doing light comedies with his ex-wife, who they're still very friendly, but takes on Othello, and it starts to mess with his head, and he starts having illusions and delusions as a result of playing this very feverish character. Eddie says he thinks Rosalind Russell saw that movie and said, "We should do something like that." And so so they have a superficial similarity.
Yeah.
And they both take place in the world of theater. Except that the Double Life really did shoot in New York. They shot a lot of establishing footage.
Okay.
And I don't know which street exactly, but one of the Broadway theater streets.
Leo is asking if Black Legion would be considered a noir film.
A good question. I don't know.
Let's call them. They're very busy.
It's a very potent movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just saw a kissing cousin of Black Legion called Storm Warning on TCM. And Storm Warning is also about the KKK in a small town where everybody's kind of knows what's going on, and they just go about their business until Ginger Rogers comes to town to visit her sister, Doris Day, who is now married to Steve Cochran, who turns out to be not only a KKK member, but a lout on his own terms. And it builds to a fevered climax. And it gives Ronald Reagan one of his best roles as a local DA, the county DA, who's trying to get somebody to testify. But there's like a vow of silence in the community. That's a really good, it's not a great film, but it's a good film, and it's very visceral.
Yeah. A number of folks are saying that they love that film as well. And Doris Day in noir, it's marvelous. Yes, yeah. Not something you would immediately assume. Yeah, it is funny to see. I forget what you had something on the other day, and it was okay. I've got to get my brain back to it. Let me see if I can find it, because you guys were watching it, and I had never seen.
We wound up watching most of Double Indemnity last weekend.
Because you couldn't not.
Because we couldn't turn it off.
Yeah.
We came in partway.
That's what it was. It was Double Indemnity. Yeah. And it's still, I'm so used to Fred McMurray playing friendly, lovable types.
Right.
That it's still sometimes, blows my mind that he's in that movie playing that kind of character.
Yep. Billy Wilder cast him, and then cast him 16 years later in The Apartment as a heel, not as a killer, but as the ultimate heel. And those are two of his most distinctive roles.
Yeah. Shannon's saying Doris Day is so underrated.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's sort of like nowadays, I think people are aware that comedians tend to be really good dramatic actors as well. Not saying Doris Day is a comedian, but like being able to understand people and figure out how to get a laugh, the psychology behind it. A lot of those actors seem to also be very skilled at the dramatic side.
Some people would say singers, because if you can interpret the meaning of a song and communicate the meaning of the lyrics of a song, you have a head start toward acting.
But I think with someone like Doris Day, because she was so known for her sort of shininess, that picture perfect. People don't really think about her as an actress, though she was so good.
She gives a lot of credit to Bob Hope for her comedy chops, because she was a regular on his radio show for a number of years in the 40s, and he gave her experience, in timing.
Timing. It's pretty important, that timing stuff, and when it's off, it goes horribly awry. But yeah, you guys had a great time.
So
Alan was telling Alan and his wife Gemma took my parents over last night. They drove them last night to the Arrow, and so I got to talk to him for a few minutes before they left. And he was saying that I think he said he's taking today off because the next 4 days he's there all day.
Right.
Which, as I say, they love it, and they put so much care into what they do there. And Eddie and his wife are both such kind people.
Yes.
And they really.
And he's got his new book, if you haven't seen it or heard about it, is called Noir Bar.
Yeah.
And it's
Eddie's, not Alan's.
Yes.
Alan also has books.
Alan also has a new book on the making of on the making of the film.
Hang on.
With Robert Mitchum, called Blood on the Moon.
There you go. I was going to say, we just posted a new book roundup. My dad gave me a whole 10 books to post for you guys. We've got
10 film books worth your time.
Yeah. Nick DeSemlian's The Last Action Heroes, The Triumphs, Flops, and Feuds of Hollywood's Kings of Carnage. What a title.
A lot of dish in that. A lot of very entertaining dish.
Advertising Anarchy, Selling Bud Abbott and Lou Costello to War-Torn America by Richard S. Green.
Huge. Books. I'm not showing it because it's too heavy to lift.
It's too big to pick up. George Powell, Man of Tomorrow by Justin Humphreys.
Long in the making, many years in the making.
Music for Prime Time by our friend John Burlingame. What's it? Blood on the Moon, Alan K. Rohde. The Toonsmith, The Musical Journey of M.K. Jerome by Gary May. The Exorcist Legacy, 50 Years of Fear by Nat Segaloff.
By the prolific Nat Segaloff.
Yeah. Warner Brothers, 100 Years of Storytelling by Mark Vieira, forward by Ben Mankiewicz. Made of Pen and Ink, Fleischer Studios, The New York Years, which is G. Michael Dobbs. And then Noir Bar, Eddie Muller's cocktails inspired by the world of film noir. And all of that, you can read about them and find links to them on my dad's website, leonardmaltin.com. You can also, if you want, sign up on the website to get our email blast. So whenever my dad posts it, it's free. You can sign up and see when he's posting stuff like that.
Anyhow,
Eddie also has a new kids book called Kitty Frenel in the Case of the Marshmallow Monkey.
Oh my.
I did not know that. And now I do. That's wild.
Okay.
Lots of good books to get into, which is always
and
exciting.
More. I have more already.
Of course you do.
Building up a pile for the next installment.
People write to us all the time asking my dad to read their books, and I have to, as politely as possible, explain that at any given time he's usually reading like 5. There's so many, and it's something that you love so much. And so I never want to tell someone, yes, he's going to get to your book because you're going at the bottom of a stack, genuinely of a stack of books. You're always reading. It is your favorite thing.
Yeah, I love to read.
And you just read like crazy. We've talked about, my mom and I both have terrible dyslexia, and I can't read for fun for that reason. It's very hard for me to read. And then you've got my dad who can just swallow a 1,000-page book in a weekend and go like, what? Is that hard?
I finished finally Doris Kearns Goodwin's The Bully Pulpit.
That was a big book. That was a real big book.
about Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft. What I've become a great fan of hers, and justifiably so. She's a great writer and a great researcher, and she makes everything interesting. She makes history immediate and interesting.
Yeah, which is it's so necessary, because otherwise we all know this, history and learning about it can become very dull very easily. It's why someone who's a great documentarian knows how to bring things to life,
right,
in a certain way. It's why documentaries work so much of the time in terms of giving you access to something that otherwise might be hard to sort of dive into. Accessible, definitely accessible. Any thoughts on Barbie and Oppie? So at the beginning, my dad, we spoke about Oppie, I think last time, but you can sort of just.
I think it's a pretty good movie. I'm not a great Christopher Nolan fan, but and I don't see why it absolutely had to be 3 hours long. Not that the subject isn't worthy of, an exhaustive examination, but and I like Cillian Murphy very much in it.
You have to like Cillian Murphy; he's so talented.
And I didn't understand why it had to be an IMAX.
So in both cases, for both Barbie and Oppie, you liked them. You and Mommy both. You liked them.
Yeah.
Neither one knocked your socks off.
No, that's correct.
But obviously, people are sort of having varied reactions to both. I have friends who think Barbie is the best thing they've seen in a long time. I have friends who sort of go, it was fine. I have a lot of friends who are crying. A lot of friends go to see Barbie and it makes them cry.
Well, that's playing on. They're crying on the way into the theater almost.
Yeah.
It's nostalgia. It's their childhood brought back, and those are sentimental notes. I mean, it's like Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Christmas movies where you're permitted to be sentimental,
to be emotional, and to have all those things. Yeah, it's definitely something that is affecting people in a significant way, which is wonderful. And that's also why I love. They asked Cillian Murphy about that. They said, "Are you going to see Barbie?" in one of the interviews, and he goes, I think it's fantastic that these two movies are opening on the same day. He said, what could be better than getting people to go to the theater?
Yeah.
And the fact that so many people did the Barbenheimer weekend where they saw both, that's fantastic. People do focus. Let me ask you, do you guys care about when they talk about how much money a movie makes? Does that mean anything to you? Because I could not care less about how much a movie makes.
Well, it's my alma mater, Entertainment Tonight.
Yes.
That is
brought that in
into the public arena.
Yeah.
Nobody was asking for that.
No.
Although the New York Times has been publishing a bestseller list.
Yes.
Why should it matter that this book is a bestseller?
Yeah.
Well, it's an endorsement by the public.
Yeah.
And that's what box office is essentially.
Yeah. I think for me, it's more so that how much money a movie makes has nothing to do with it being good or not. So it's like, to me, it's sort of like, so Barbie is good. The reason I'm going to say that without seeing it is that people have continued to watch it after opening weekend. That to me is what's interesting, because when they talk about how this new whatever it is film that opened on a Friday had this amount of money at the box office, well, what that tells you is that people were interested in the film.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely information that we like to take in to see what people are interested in.
It's useful.
But what I want is when people walk out, I want you to say, would you take your money back, or are you happy you spent it?
Well, that's why people put a lot of stock in the Cinema Score exit poll ratings.
Yeah.
It's not theoretical.
Yeah.
You've just seen the movie. You've just paid to see the movie.
Yeah.
What score would you give it?
Yeah. That to me is more valuable than anything. Yes, Barbie just broke $1 billion. It's a big deal. It just broke $1 billion. But that to me, as I say, that is much more interesting than how much it made opening weekend. because as I say, it's like a Marvel movie, right? If you bring out an Avengers film and it makes however many millions upon millions in that opening weekend, we're not surprised by that. That's not a surprise. Barbie, they pushed so hard. Oppenheimer too. They pushed and pushed and pushed those movies. The amount of advertising for both, the interviews, everything, they pushed hard for those two films. And so I'm not surprised that opening weekend went well for them. What I care about now,
the news would have been if they had flopped.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been a big deal.
That's man bites dog.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. But as I say, it's more interesting to see how a week later or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, are people still going? And in the case of Barbie and Oppenheimer, the answer is yes. As we know, the answer is yes. So that is sort of what I look at. The George Schlatter interview was a splendiferous event. Look that up in your Funk and Wagnalls.
Jesse doesn't get that. Jesse doesn't understand that reference. That was one of the catchphrases on Laughing.
I gathered.
Yeah.
I gathered.
We had great fun with George.
Yeah. One of our new episodes on the podcast is George Schlatter, who is a fascinating man and knows absolutely everyone, worked with absolutely everyone. So,
and some of his stories may be true, but they're great stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his new book is called Still Laughing. I very much recommend it.
Yeah.
Made me laugh out loud.
Yeah. And it's, again, we're very lucky. And I say we're all very lucky when you still have someone who can give you information firsthand.
Yeah.
About Frank Sinatra, about
Judy Garland,
about Sammy Davis Jr., about all of the comics. It's very lucky to still have those people who can give you, say, the first-hand accounts, because it's not going to be forever, and at a certain point, it will only be stories.
That's right.
So it's fun when he's talking. Oh God, that chimp story. I won't spoil it because it's too good. But yeah, just hilarious. Ryan's asking if you keep most of your books after you finish them. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
I don't think it's unfortunate.
No, it's not unfortunate.
I know you're saying it because we have no more places to put books. I do understand that. But as I look around the room we're in, go, oh, yeah. P.S. You have to figure out what you're going to do behind here because Daisy got a hold of your 1939 World's Fair glasses again because they're sitting back there. I put one.
I see where you put it.
I can't even see where I put it.
Yeah, up there next to Bob Hope.
Oh, there you go. I put it up there next to Bob Hope. But then she had another one, and I put it back there. This is hoy. Thank you. Lester's saying, love your book about cinematographers.
Thank you. That was a wonderful experience. That was a great, unexpected turn of events. Serendipity, you might say.
Yep.
I had gotten my foot in the door at Signet Books, which was then called New American Library, publishing house in New York. And my first book, which was the first edition of the movie guide, then called TV Movies, had come out when I was a freshman at NYU in 1969. And the second book that I sold them was Movie Comedy Teams. And then summer was coming, and I wanted a project. So I pitched them a book of director interviews that I purported to do. And the new editor who had come in and taken Patrick's place said, no, I don't think so. We are looking for a book about cameramen. I said, cameramen? I don't know anything about cameramen. And then a couple of weeks went by and I said, well, who might have turned down, an offer, a concrete, offer to be published.
You took us back in there and say yes.
So I got a copy of a book called Two Reels and a Crank by Arthur Miller and Fred Balsoffer, who were both pioneering movie cameramen. Arthur C. Miller, no relation to the playwright, went on to win 3 Academy Awards for Best Cinematography and was then the president of the ASC, the American Society of Cinematographers. And I went to my source, capital S, William K. Everson, my hero, my mentor, he didn't know he was my mentor, but he was.
Yeah.
And I said, I have this opportunity to write about cameramen. He said, go out to LA and go to the ASC Clubhouse on Orange Drive. And is it on Orange? Yeah, I think so.
It's one of theirs over there.
And they all hang out there and they love to talk.
Which is still true, by the way.
So I called Mr. Miller, and he couldn't have been kinder or more welcoming. And he said, come on out. We'll set you up. Make sure you get to meet the right people. And my late friend, David Chirichetti, drove me and also gave me the benefit of his knowledge. And I got to interview 5 outstanding cameramen. Arthur Miller, Hal Moore, who also started in the silent era, Hal Rawson, who also started in the silent era and photographed The Wizard of Oz and Singing in the Rain, to name a few. Lucien Ballard, who started in the 30s, the beginning of talkies, and had a sort of a career revival with Sam Peckinpah and other people. And the 5th one was Conrad Hall, who was a contemporary cinematographer, started in the 50s and was coming into his own, had come into his own. And I just learned. I sat there and I was a sponge. And that book has done me.
You got an award.
Yeah.
The ASC gave you an award some years ago.
Yeah. I've been told by several leading cinematographers that this book made them choose cinematography as their path. What higher compliment could I get?
Yeah.
So I have a great attachment to that.
Yeah.
And that experience was just like revelatory.
Yeah. As I say, it's still the case, by the way. A lot of people who are aspiring cinematographers will go there because everyone just wants to hang out. They want to hang out and they want to talk.
And they're sharing people.
Very much so. Very much so. And they love doing it. It's a gift. It really, really is a gift. I started buying your TV movies book in 1973. Then I bought and devoured your movie comedy teams and the Disney films, such essential reference books. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's true. He's been doing them for such a long time. It kind of blows your mind. What is the weirdest request, without naming names, an interviewee had of Mr. Maltin before or during an interview?
The weirdest request.
I think generally there will be someone who, it doesn't happen often, but they want to either see the article or hear the interview before it's posted, which is not crazy. Trying to think.
Well, I've been teaching my class at USC for 25 years.
Yeah.
And only once in those 25 years has someone insisted that we not record the conversation,
which still makes no sense to me. I still think that's the stupidest thing. And
it was a filmmaker I greatly admire and whose newest film I'm embarrassed to say I haven't seen, and that's Kelly Reichardt.
We still don't understand why she said it. It makes no sense.
She's very articulate,
very bright. All these things, have no idea why she said no. But no, other than that, really, not anything crazy. Some people are harder to interview. Some people are not very nice. Some people are
not anecdotal. Some people, don't have stories to tell.
And some people, I find some people are not conversational, which is you ask a question and then they answer it. And then you ask a question and then they answer it. So it's not sort of a back and forth, lively situation. And that can be tough sometimes, especially via Zoom. Now that we have to do so many of our interviews via Zoom, that can be harder if they're not conversational. But again, it's not anything against them. As I say, you've had some tough interviews. You've had some people who are not easy to interview. I always think about your what's his name? Tommy Lee Jones gripping the seat he was in. My dad has interviewed Tommy Lee Jones more than once, and it's not a secret. He doesn't like people. He doesn't like being interviewed. He doesn't really want to go outside. He's just prickly. We'll say prickly.
He was doing promotion for the Oliver Stone film Heaven and Earth at the Four Seasons Hotel, where many held.
Yeah.
And he was sitting in a wing chair, and as Jesse said, his hands were kind of
gripping it,
the sides of the chair.
Yeah.
And so it was clear that he was not relaxed,
not happy to be there, let's say.
And at one point I said, do you think acting is instinctual? And he pounced like a tiger. He said, I don't think not instinctual. And he started criticizing me for using that term. I said, well, what would you call it? You had no experience in acting, and 10 days after you graduated from college, you were in an off-Broadway play.
Yeah.
And I saw him physically relax.
Yeah.
And he said, well, that's true. And then he went on from there. The second time I interviewed him was down in MacArthur Park when he was shooting Volcano.
Love that movie. It's terrible, and I love that movie.
And I also met Don Cheadle that day and interviewed him, and outdoors. And Tommy, when we were finished, he went to his trailer, to get into his street clothes.
Yeah.
He was done for the day. And on his way back, he stopped and sort of patted me on the shoulder and said, nice talking to you, or something like that, something of that sort.
And then did you have a heart attack and say, who are you?
Our sound man said, as long as he's a star, you got a job.
Yeah, right. No, the red boots was me, Frank. That happened. I said something to him. This was in Telluride. You were going to interview him after a film, and he just looks pissed off all the time. It's just his face. And I much like my dad, tend to sort of look like this. And some people who are quite serious don't really know what to do with that information. But I went to take a picture of them together, and Tommy stood like as far away from my dad as he fit. Like, he just didn't move closer. He just sort of was standing there. And then he had on these bright red flame cowboy boots. And I called him sassy. And he just looked at me, and I was like, you can't wear fucking red flame cowboy boots and then look at me and go, I don't know why you're commenting on my red flaming. Listen, Tommy Lee Jones, I knew he was just hiding. Maybe he's nice under there somewhere.
That's when he was showing his movie, The Homesman.
Yeah.
A very tough movie.
Yeah.
Very, very tough movie.
Just to go through some of your questions. How was Comic-Con? Not very busy. Comic-Con was so busy.
It was packed. It was jam-packed.
Comic-Con was
all the people
so
who normally would have been in Hall H watching.
We're in the convention center instead.
Watching a dog and pony show there.
Yeah.
We're on the convention floor instead.
It was not the two main differences that I noticed. One is that there was less advertising outside and inside too, really. Mm-hmm. Normally, because of all the various studios, there's a lot more advertising outside. There wasn't as much as there usually is, because normally they take over every single pedicab. Every space has an ad on it. There was less of that than normal.
That was your observation.
Yeah. Well, because especially when we were on the second floor, you could really see out into the gas lamp, which is the downtown of San Diego. And you could just see there was a lot less than there usually is. If you think about the fact that normally the hotels, remember, they'll have the billboards up along the whole side of them. Right. A number of hotels didn't have that this year.
Okay.
Same thing when you went into the elevators. Normally in all the elevators of all the hotels, they're pimped out for some movie.
Oh, even the keys.
Yep. And they weren't.
Nope.
They were not. So there were, I noticed a difference in sponsorship, in that kind of advertising and sponsorship. And then in terms of the floor, it was not as busy. Like, it wasn't as busy as it could be, but it was still very busy. And there were still a lot of people.
Apparently the dealers were thrilled.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the thing. When people said, oh, people aren't going to go to Comic-Con. Well, the thing is this, all the people in the outside world think about with Comic-Con at this point are the announcements from Marvel, from those kind of folks. The reality is the majority of people who go to Comic-Con are not going for that. A lot of people are going for the comic books, for the art,
or for the costumes,
or for the costumes. Yeah.
The opportunity to wear costumes.
Yep. So,
or to introduce their kids to that world.
Yeah. And once again, I will say this was Daisy's second Comic-Con. Kid did not care about the costumes. If somebody could be completely doused in blood and she had no reaction, I said to my husband, is she going to be a serial killer? Like, she doesn't react to people who look very scary and she's just fine with it. But yeah, it was a blast. And our panel went so well. You were on several.
Yeah.
Our panel, the Your Wrong Letter Maltin panel, was so much fun. And it was full, which is always really nice. We're so appreciative.
Good attendance at the other two panels too. The
animation
authors,
animation panels,
and cartoon voices.
Yep.
With our Aussie friend Keith Scott.
Yep. No, it really felt as busy as it feels. We got to meet so many people, which is our favorite part. And say Daisy, we had to put a leash on Daisy, literally had to put a leash on Daisy so we wouldn't lose her.
She did not like.
She did not like that at all, understandably, but otherwise she was going to take off. Yeah, Comic-Con was wonderful. I was so happy we were there, and it somehow wasn't as hot as it normally is, which I thank you, Mother Nature, for caring about us. Do you think they'll postpone the Oscars? I don't think so. I don't think so. Obviously, the whole strike situation is still a mess, but I don't think they'll postpone Oscars. No.
So there's a lot. Well, it's a lot of interlocking pieces there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig. I'm glad you liked the Randall Kleiser interview. We did too.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the new episodes. It's up. Yeah, Ryan, Jerry was at the animation panels. Yeah, you were with Jerry a whole bunch.
8 hours of unseen rarities. Stoojorama. Believe it. Know it. There it is.
If it makes you happy, man.
It does. It does. I have to watch this when Mommy is out of the room.
Yeah.
Paul Gurecki and my old friend Kit Parker put this together, and it really has a lot of unfamiliar footage.
Yeah.
And a revised version of a documentary done in the 80s called The Men Behind the Mayhem, in which I appear briefly, and a younger me. But there's a lot of neat stuff on here. 3 discs. Count them.
I love it. Yeah. So a few of you are asking about San Francisco Silent Film Fest. My parents were supposed to go, didn't get to go. My mom fell a couple of weeks ago and gave herself a concussion. She's fine. She's fine now. But we decided that flying and traveling was probably not a good idea for her.
Not good.
So yeah, she had a quiet weekend, and then she did come down to Comic-Con. Couldn't do a whole lot, but was there, and that's always fun. It's fun that we all go together. It's me, my husband, my mom, my dad, the baby. It's great, and I love it.
It's an activity.
Yeah, it is. Frank says my sister's Netflix doc got nominated for an Emmy. Well, congratulations.
Oh, good.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad. Yeah. The reason I know some people are asking about the Oscars being postponed is because the Emmys were, but I think that's only just because the Emmys are now.
Yes.
Well,
the studios are all
panicking.
Well, they're panicking and trying to figure out
what to do
for the fall. The fall film festivals are all.
They're real close. It's a month or less.
Yeah.
We go to Telluride on the 30th of this month, which is crazy,
and that is the same weekend that Venice
begins.
Has its,
and then just after that, you have the Toronto Film Festival, and it's a lot. And I really don't know what's going to happen. Nobody does. We'll see. There was good news. Obviously, they brought on TCM has brought on McGillicuddy, Genevieve McGillicuddy, to help run the next year's TCM Film Festival. So at least it's nice. You know,
we'll take any good news.
We'll take any good news we can get. That's right. What have you got there?
Well, I don't like to do paper goods because they're not always easy to see.
Sure.
But I found this among my stuff. It's a promo for the movie Ocean's 11.
Yep.
And it's an $11 bill featuring Sammy Davis Jr. You don't find stuff like that every day of the week.
You do not. I mean, in our house you do, but in normal life, no. In normal life, you do not. Have you read the Ernie and Kovacs Land?
Not yet.
Okay. So we do not have information on that yet.
I like Tom Mix memorabilia, not only because he was such a big Western star in the silent and even into the early sound era, but because he inspired a radio show that outlived him. He died in a car accident in 1940, but a guy named Curly Bradley played Tom Mix on the radio for years afterwards. So the name lived on, and it also lived on because he headlined a circus, as did Ken Maynard and some other silent movie cowboys. And this is a special children's ticket.
Yeah.
And it's not just Tom Mix, it's Tom Mix and Tony, his horse.
Well, here's the back of it. Hello there, Daisy's Butlers. That's exactly how I would describe us. We are Daisy's Butlers. Oh. James is asking if you've seen the new 4-disc set on the Soundies released by Kino.
I haven't, and I haven't broke open the shrink wrap yet.
Soon.
I have great interest in that. I've been a Soundies collector myself for many years.
Yep.
And I want to see how they deal with the reverse image Soundies.
Yeah.
Soundies were the precursor of music videos. And they were made during the war years, mostly 41 to 45. They lingered a bit afterwards. They were 3 minutes long, and they were meant to be played in a machine called the Mills Panoram machine. You can look this up if you're really interested, or ignore it if you're not. And but they captured a lot of great entertainers and a lot of great musicians on film. Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Cab Calloway, Francis Faye, one of my favorite performers, all sorts of people, odds and ends people. And they did comedy ones. Alfalfa is a couple. But originally the machine contained a 16 millimeter projector that used mirrors and a periscope and mirrors to show you the image on the screen about the size of the computer we're using here.
Uh-huh.
And it had to be reversed. So you have an original 1942 or 43 print of a Soundie if the letters are all backwards when you project
so funny.
it.
That's so funny.
Now, you hold this up while I read the directions on the back.
This already looked complicated.
These are Lucky Strike premiums.
Hang on. Here. Lucky Strike, bridge, favors, and place cards. These unique little happy-go-luckies of famous stars can be utilized for luncheon place cards and for bridge favors, and are offered in order to call attention to the merits of Lucky Strike cigarettes. It's toasted. Your throat protection. Gene Harlow appearing in Howard Hughes's production. So
Howard Hughes had her under contract for Hell's Angels.
So I guess and there's little, you would bend it. Not that I'm not going to bend it, but you would bend it if you were going to use it.
There's Loretta Young.
That is very funny. The gigantic head. Very, very funny. Yes, Ronnie, I also need some new bridge favors. I was just saying the other day, when the girls come over to play bridge, Did you ever meet Tony Bennett?
Yes. I was fortunate enough
You saw him
to
perform.
meet him. Oh, Alice and I saw him on a
perform,
number of
yeah.
occasions. And
I just love these giant heads. Giant heads. Oh, Jack Holton, your gigantic head. What about the Walter Lantz cartoons airing on MeTV next month?
oh, news to me.
News to use. Yeah, exactly, Russell. Lucky Strike throat protection. If by protection you mean cancer.
And here's Slim Somerville.
You know, Slim Somerville. Oh, God, that is very funny looking.
And James Gleason.
James Gleason. These tiny heads are cracking me up.
So we're going to call them bridge favors.
Yeah, bridge favors.
Or
this week, Disney announced they will no longer be releasing DVDs and Blu-rays in Australia. As an Aussie lifelong Disney fan and collector, I'm gutted, saddened, and angered. Why would they? Why would they do that?
Because
it costs too much to
yeah, they're getting out of the physical media business. They're getting out of the physical media business. That's what's happening all over.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening all over.
I know. I don't have to like it though. I'm
no,
so
you don't.
sorry. That's really.
No, you don't.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. That's really tough and frustrating and. Yeah, I don't get it. I know that it's still hard shipping that distance. I know that. I know that it can cost a lot of money. I know because I have friends in Australia, and when we try to ship stuff back and forth, it can be crazy. But same thing with my friends in the UK. Shipping now can be stupid expensive, even if something's not that heavy, not that large. But that is so frustrating.
Here's my Tony Bennett story.
Yes, sir.
We'd seen him when we were New Yorkers on a couple of occasions. And we moved out here. And when my parents would come to visit, we found it was best to have activities.
Yes.
Things to do.
You're saying we. My mother. My mother's the one who had to figure out how to keep them entertained.
And I saw that he was going to be playing at the Gibson Amphitheater. Now RIP, Universal.
Now Harry Potter Land. Yeah.
That's right, at Universal. And I called in a favor from one of my colleagues at ET who arranged for not only for tickets, but for a little post-show reception that we could all go to. So it was supposed, the evening was billed as a tribute to Irving Berlin. Okay, fine. Never a bad time for that. And in the amphitheater, the orchestra's on stage. And it's an 8 o'clock show, and it's like it's 8:10 and nothing's happening yet. And like 8:13, an announcer suddenly says, Tony Bennett. And Tony walks on stage, beaming as he usually was, and starts singing a non-Irving Berlin song. And something was off that night.
Did no one tell him it was an Irving Berlin night?
Well, I'm entertaining that possibility.
Yeah.
And at the end, intermission. During intermission, we're saying, When we come back, he brings on his daughter, Antonia, who does a song and dance, like being at a relative's house and they insist that their children get up and perform for you. Tony never phoned in a performance.
Right.
Never. He's never less than really good.
Yeah.
But this was just, well, now we go to this reception afterwards. What are we going to say? It was great to hear you. Great to see you. Well, about 6 or 9 months earlier, we had seen him at the Westwood Playhouse, now known as the Geffen Playhouse in Westwood. A perfect venue. Perfect for him because it's not Carnegie Hall. It's not a huge hall, not an arena.
Yeah.
There was an intimacy there.
Yeah.
And it was just him and the Ralph Sharon Trio, his longtime accompanists. And he was great. So what I said that night was, we're so glad we got to see you at the Westwood Playhouse. That was really an exceptional Tony, you're always great, but that was an exceptional gig. He said, yes, it was. 6 months later, I attend the Video Software Dealers Convention in Las Vegas, and he's signing. They have a concert out on DVD or VHS. And I said hello, and he said, you're right about that Westwood Playhouse gig. 6 months later, like we just finished talking about it the night before. So something about that resonated.
Something about that resonated. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, that's too funny. The smallness of the world sometimes, right?
Here's a tip. Go to YouTube and look up Playboy Penthouse. Playboy Penthouse. An episode, an hour-long episode from early 60s. In this incredible episode are Count Basie, Joe Williams, who was then the band vocalist, Lambert Hendrickson Ross, the great jazz singers, Phyllis Diller, then still making her reputation as a comedian, and Tony Bennett. And Tony does a 5-song set. It just keeps getting better and better. And he sings one, I'm not going to tell you, he sings a song that was not part of his repertoire. Phyllis Diller asks him to sing it because it's from a current Broadway show. I don't know if he ever sang it again, but it sent chills down my spine.
And I will say the Lambert Hendrickson Ross part of that evening
great too.
Is not pretty great. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite things that exists, genuinely. And then when they sing with Joe Williams, it's perfect. It's so perfect. I watch it all the time. Whenever I need to feel better about life, I watch it. It's so, so good. This is when YouTube really, really pays you back. It's so wonderful. I've never heard of the American Cinematheque podcast. Is it on iTunes? Do they have a podcast? I'm guessing they have a podcast because you're saying that. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Hi, Mabel. Oh, hi, Mabel. Oh, hi, Mabel. Oh, hi, Mabel. Oh, hi, Mabel. You just saw you just needed some love. That's fine. So guys, it's so.
Oh, somebody's saying something nice about James Gleason and Meet John Doe. James Gleason in Anything. James Gleason in Here Comes Mr. Jordan. That's one that rings the bell for me.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. Before you go, any thoughts about animation and Disney historian Jim Korkis?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Jim fought a difficult battle, and a friend started the GoFundMe because his medical bills were really mounting up. Jim wrote a number of books. You can go to Amazon, I suppose, and find all the books. The Vault of Wall. He specialized in finding unusual and offbeat stories and anecdotes. And some of them may seem a little far-fetched. They're all genuine. They're all facts, or factoids, as some people would call them. And Diane Disney Miller gave her blessing and approval to what Jim did. Jim taught animation. He was devoted to the medium and to spreading the gospel of quality, personality animation. And he knew what he was talking about. And I'm very saddened to know that he's gone now. And I wish him eternal peace.
No kidding. Thanks, guys. He's saying they're happy to. We're also happy to be back. Genuinely, we have missed talking to you guys. We will be here next week, so we'll see you next Sunday. And happy to be with you. It's always nice to spend Sundays with you. So take care, and we'll see you soon.
And be kind.
Bye.